For today's episode, we are reviewing the delightful book that was released very recently by Mat Auryn, Psychic Witch.
Yay!
Woo! So, thoughts, feelings, emotions, desires.
In my initial thoughts on the book were, it's like just very helpful. It's very well laid out.
Yes.
I need to get a physical copy. I got the audiobook copy because, when I initially got it, I was like, when do I have time to read? Oh, I have time to read now. But the person who is narrating in the audiobook, I don't know, his voice sounds very familiar, and I meant to look up where else I'd heard his voice, but it kind of reminds me of another voice actor who I've heard on different sci-fi and fantasy audio series. So he was good to listen to. I mean,
so good.
You could very much fall asleep to his voice, so that was a little hard to do. But
really, yeah. Honestly, I bought the physical copy, and then I knew that I'm trying to read more. That's actually one of my little things I'm looking to do more. I knew that it would be a challenge to actually work time in to read this. So I did listen to audibles too, and I thought the narrator was very. He always would finish off in a very enthusiastic way. I don't know. I thought he was. I wouldn't fall asleep. He kind of made me energized, but it was almost a little. If he's listening, I don't want this to be a critique, but he was almost like an infomercial on psychic abilities.
Yes. That's why I was I could fall asleep to it.
Oh, really? It was very very enthusiastic. It's and you too have access to these powers. It's very. I don't know. I thought it was very cute.
Yeah, his voice and tone was just very even throughout the whole book for me.
Mm-hmm.
So that's why I was he doesn't get excited. Of course, how do you read this and make it exciting? I mean, it's a how-to book basically.
I think he did it.
Quick Google search. That narrator's name is James Anderson Foster. I don't have the audiobook because I do not listen to audiobooks. They make me crazy. So I tend to either get the physical copy or get an ebook. But yeah, apparently he has in fact narrated a whole bunch of stuff, including a great deal of science fiction stuff.
Maybe you're right, Michael. Maybe that's where you've heard him before.
So if you listen to a lot of audiobooks, that's probably why he sounds familiar.
Well, you know what? One thing I really appreciated this is my first book. This is actually Matt. I was going to say this is my first book I've ever read by Matt, but it's actually his only book that he's ever written, right? Or his first book that he's written, I think. But he definitely publishes a lot on, what's his blog called? Pathos, right?
He is a blogger on Pathos.
Yeah.
Right. Yes. So his material is great, and he's always very good at acknowledging, I guess his not maybe advisors or spiritual roots, right? So he speaks about his work with Devin Hunter and also Christopher Penczak, Silver Ravenwolf, right? So it's actually I saw a lot of the influence in it, and which was I think for some people may or may not be a selling point, but I feel like what I really loved about this is I think you mentioned it, Michael. It's very extensive as far as information. It's also even now a lot of new books that come out, they kind of, and maybe out of necessity, but they kind of start with the assumption that you know nothing, right? Or you've never read anything else. And he does do that, but then I liked how it was an extensive and almost like a complete system, you know? There are definitely parts that really remind me of... I'm not sure if you've ever read Christopher Penzak's Instant Magic, but it reminded me of that in its like minimalism. There are different aspects. I guess we could get into it. But even just like the hand gestures for getting into different mental states or energetic states reminded me of like some of Christopher Penzak's work.
I'm going to have to read some of Penzak's stuff because I feel like I'm the only gay witch who's never read anything by Christopher Penzak.
Oh, really?
Oh, my goodness.
Oh,
my goodness.
I feel like that's because every single gay witch I talk to is like, oh, my gosh, you have to read this. And whenever people tell me I have to read something, it immediately turns me off.
Mm-hmm. Well, Michael, whatever you do, don't read Christopher Penzak. You have to not read Christopher Penzak's books. All of them. Definitely don't read all of them. Okay, Michael?
Yeah, see, that's not going to work.
I tried. Trace, you're up.
I know. I'm so shocked. Yeah, so, I mean, I'm not particularly surprised that you would find it very similar to some of the things that were done in Instant Magic and other things, because he has done a lot of work with Penzak. And I do also tend to recommend Chris Penzak's works, especially his, honestly, I've found the Temple of Witchcraft series to be much more useful than a lot of other books. And in my own classes, we use his book Spirit Allies, especially when we start talking to students about ways to actually communicate with your spiritual fort, because it's extremely useful. Our brother Sphinx likes to call that book the book that that basically opened his eyes up into dealing and communicating with the spirit world. So, you know, his work is really great. For me, one of the things that I really liked about the book was there were so many exercises in it, and that they're all, you know, practically everything in the book is an exercise. It feels like there's not as much explanation as there are exercises, but all of the exercises are very well explained, if that makes sense. It's not a lot of pagan how-to books tend to read like, you know, the whole chapter is explaining the concepts of how to do a thing, and then there's like 2 exercises at the end of the chapter.
Right.
Which is, I mean, it's a perfectly legitimate teaching style. That's one of the ways that we do teaching. But also, it can be difficult for some people, and it can be less than engaging sometimes, especially if you're just trying to read it out of a book. You know, it's a lot easier to have that sort of teaching style if you're having someone in front of you who is teaching you, that you can interrupt them and ask them questions. But out of a book, it can be very difficult to follow. I actually really liked that as far as that went, as well as being very, I don't want to say down to earth because that's not the right term for it, but nothing seemed like it was wrapped up in a lot of woo, even though it is a lot of woo, you know? Nothing was written to be mysterious. It's all very like, okay, so you have these gifts, and here's how you can unlock them. These are the ways that this is how your brain works with different brainwave states. Here's how to access those brainwave states. Here's some exercises to do that. Go. Which I find really delightfully refreshing, because, you know, I've been doing this a long time. I have been studying paganism and the occult for 22, 23 years now, I think. I read a lot of books that have had a lot of woo-woo shit in them. And anytime I run across a book that, does, it accepts its own paradigm, which is helpful, but it also doesn't wrap everything up in a lot of, black velvet fluff. I find more helpful because, we don't need to have all of the, dripping black candlesticks and bleached skulls and stuffed ravens everywhere in order to be effective witches and magicians. We just don't. Mm-hmm. Can be fun, sure, but
very grammable. Yeah.
The trappings are the trappings. The trappings aren't the work.
Yeah. What's funny? I remember when we were choosing this book, and I read some of the reviews, and people mentioned, like, there are 93 exercises in this book. And for me, I remember that wasn't necessarily a selling point. It kind of felt like, 93 exercises. And I don't know, I guess I was worried that it'll just be quantity over quality, But I'm actually really excited about this book, even more so after listening to it on Audibles. Like, I think, regarding the different mediums to get the book in, I think for someone that, we're looking to review the book, so to actually read the whole thing, I think Audibles was the right choice for me. But I wouldn't necessarily recommend it for working through, because I feel like this is definitely a book, right? Yeah. I feel like this is definitely a book, like, there's a lot of work to do. And, we've talked before about how my default is not spell work. My default is kind of like living on this physical plane and dealing with it in that way, and like my personal struggles with that. And you all heard when Chase called me a lazy witch, right? Pretty sure.
Is that the word? Is that the words that I used?
It's some paraphrasing. I mean, I'm not sure if Michael edited it out, but just so you know.
I don't know. I don't think I called you a lazy witch. I might have said that's lazy witchcraft.
All I know is whatever you said, Michael was compelled to gasp after. But I own that. I could definitely be like an armchair occultist. I feel like this is a great book for the armchair occultist to get up out of their couch. You know what I mean? And to really just get some stuff. This is a great opportunity to really start doing shit. Without being caught up in that whole, okay, now I gotta buy all this shit on Etsy, or I have to buy all this shit from my local occult shop, because a lot of it is work that you do on yourself, and you don't need extra supplies necessarily, So I'm really smitten by the book. Obviously I've gotten through it with Audibles, but my task is to actually do the exercises, which I kind of started a little bit. Some of them were definitely familiar.
Yes.
I think that's the other thing, too. I feel like for my own personal journey, I think Mat Auryn, because of my experience with Christopher Penzak's books, and, I remember, when his Temple of Witchcraft series, started rolling out, I was like, oh, wow, okay, this is what I'm going to do. I'm going to sign up for this school. I never actually signed up for his actual school, but I started my own Yahoo group, trying to gather people at the time. And my goal was to get through the books, and at the end of 5 books, that would be my thing, right? I actually never did it. I never completed it because I fell away from his series. But I actually first met Matt at the Black Rose School of Witchcraft, which is run by Storm Fairwolf, Chaz Bogan, and also Devin Hunter. So it's nice that he has similar flavors that I'm used to working with, but he kind of ties it all into his own personal system,
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so I'm very excited about like actually working through the book now. But the content itself, I'm smitten by for sure. It speaks to me, it speaks to the type of like occultist that I am. I like the minimalism. I like that it's like right there.
Totally. I think for me, one of the things that was really also great about it was the book is fairly well laid out to me in terms of like the progression of the skill progression of somebody that's actually going through the material. A lot of times I've read books where the author tends to, each chapter kind of starts at the beginner level and then ramps up really quickly to an advanced level, and then the next chapter kind of starts back at the beginner level and then ramps back up on each topic. And that can be okay, but sometimes that can be really challenging for people. This was really good about, starting at the absolute basic level. Like, great. This is, the literally the easiest kind of visualization. Count numbers. Like I think it's the first exercise in the book is like, count from 1 to 100. Do it 3 times. If you can do it 3 times without having to stop and start over, move, then you're great and you can move to the next exercise, and it's really a like focused kind of meditation work, which is great, especially for people who've never done this kind of thing before. I'm actually using this book in helping one of my now former students to build some foundational work, because he's never done any kind of paganism before. So he doesn't really have a lot of good foundational work. And while we do teach some, basic practices and some foundational stuff, he's needing more in the 101 kind of arena. And so it's so far it's been just fine. But I do like the fact that this book, while having definitely a component to it of, magic and witchcraft 101, doesn't necessarily feel like a 101 book.
Yeah.
I recently went back and reread one of the early Scott Cunningham books. And I remember how I felt reading this book the first time when I was like 17. And how excited I was and how new and fresh it all felt. And reading it now, I'm like, oh God, what even is this? Just, and it kind of makes me a little sad because, it doesn't live up to my remembrance of it. But on the other hand, it's extremely basic. It's very 101, It's also very white, it's also very white people magic. He says, being the white guy. But Matt's book doesn't have that same, this is very basic 101 magic. We're going to teach you how to be a witch, but we're going to wrap everything in soft, fluffy clouds and make sure that all the corners and sharp edges are dull so that you can't possibly hurt yourself. Like, this doesn't do that, which I like. I feel like it's important to be able to teach people the basics of things without either dumbing it down or making everything sound like everything is white, fluffy clouds and, Lisa Frank kittens.
Yeah. Yeah, I agree. I think that this is it's actually a great place to start, right? So it can be a very good 101 book. It could also be a great refresher, right? There's something very exhilarating and refreshing about the work that Matt put together in this book. Yeah, I really like that. It's kind of funny because you're talking about the books that we kind of entered the path with, and yeah, I remember thinking like, oh, I'm very excited. Oh my god, I found a witchy book. Oh my goodness, right? And reading it, and then there was definitely part of me that was like, oh, but I can't do that because I can't afford crystals, or I can't do that because I gotta buy a fucking sword. You know what I mean? you know, I need to buy all this shit, and like, where do I get it? You know, and like at that point, like Amazon wasn't around, or even if it were, anyway, Amazon wasn't around, and then you go to your local witchy shop, and then maybe there wouldn't be an athlete that would speak to you, or it really felt like, okay, it's almost like reading about like a very formed religion, but then you trying to create a temple or literally like a church, right? Like a basilica or something from a book, you know? It really felt daunting in many ways for financial reasons, but also for secrecy. Even though Scott Cunningham did a lot of work around like solitary practices, right? The isolation was a huge part of what was felt in those books, you know? This kind of feeling like, oh, I need more people, or how am I going to find more people?
Mm-hmm.
Even the craft, right? I mean, like, we all love to like joke about the craft. I mean, I fucking love the craft, but like it starts with, oh, we need to find a fourth, right? Nothing works without the fourth. We need the fourth, you know. But I love how this is very much like, no, where you are, start, right? And you don't need, correct me if I'm wrong, boys, but like none of the exercises actually requires anything else besides yourself. I'm trying to scan through my memory.
Some of them require things like a glass of water.
Oh, you're right.
I was gonna say like a glass of water or a mirror or something.
Yeah, but I mean, by and large, those are things that are either. A lot of them are things that you could literally get at a dollar store.
Right.
So, and while there is something to be said for buying nice things for your gods.
Of course.
I am very much, and will die on this hill, I am very much one of those people that believes that you should be able to practice your craft with nothing more than the handle of a plunger and your body. If you cannot practice your craft effectively with only those tools, then your craft is too complicated and you need to simplify.
The handle of a plunger?
The handle of a the handle of a plunger and your body.
Oh,
This was also something that Eddie would say a lot. That it's one of the reasons why the magic that we teach in the apprenticeships is so simplified.
Mm-hmm.
Because people tend, like I was saying earlier, in terms of talking about magic in a book, people tend to get real complicated or put a whole lot of woo-woo stuff in there because it sounds better and it sells more books.
Mm-hmm.
Just because it's more complicated does not necessarily mean that it's better. It just means that it's more complicated.
Mm-hmm.
And so if, like I said, if you cannot practice your craft with nothing more than the handle of a plunger and your body in a concrete bunker, your magic is too complicated.
God, I'd be fucked without a plunger then, huh?
Just saying. Just saying.
Oh, I love it.
You're welcome.
You know what else I really appreciate about the book, too, is the imagery that he works with. There were so many moments I just kind of chuckled, Like, for instance, like, one example, he uses the dimmer, right? How did he phrase this? I'm pretty sure he's talking about those moments when you want to turn up your psychic awareness and turn it down for your own mental sanity, because you don't want to be on all the time sometimes, right? You don't want to be receiving all the time because it'll just drive you nuts. But instead of invoking images like, dim the campfire, right? He actually uses a dimmer switch, like you would in your living room. And I thought that was so clever, and it's very effective, you know?
Oh, I love it.
I know. There's some of the examples like that, too. It was very modern. Who knows? If someone picks up this book in, like, 30 years, they'll be like, what the fuck's a dimmer?
I mean, you know, this is, I think, one of the things that I really love about the work that I've gotten to do, or the studying that I've gotten to do with people like Storm, Fairy Wolf, and Devin Hunter, is that the inclusion of pop culture imagery in magic is just so great. I love it so much. It's effective. It's immediately accessible for most people in Western society because we're all familiar with those images.
Right.
You know, it doesn't take much for us to think about a dimmer switch, right?
Right.
Yes, it may be not that easy in other places, but for us, pretty simple.
Yeah, eventually we're gonna be like using like Alexa in our magic, right?
I mean, you know, the idea of a tech.
Alexa, stop!
That is truly glorious.
She's always
listening.
That
is amazing. Oh my God, that is amazing.
Yep.
Amazing. That is great. But in all seriousness, yeah, I mean,
yeah, absolutely.
You know, the idea or conceptualization of a techno-pagan has been around for a long time.
Yes.
You know, it was made delightfully present in Buffy the Vampire Slayer.
Yes, yeah.
And I think that that's just one of those things that, to me at least, all practitioners of magic and paganism and the occult or psychism or whatever you want to call it should be able to adapt to whatever is available. You know, I'm not saying that we should bastardize every other culture or anything like that. You know, it is very important to be able to respect the cultures that things came from. However, there is, I don't think, anything wrong with taking aspects of stuff like pop culture and making it magical. You know, it is an egregore that is already in the popular consciousness of pretty much everyone around you. It's going to be very easy to tap into that sort of energy, and if it's a cheap, easy, free, harmless type of energy to draw from, then why not? You know, if it stirs your deep imagination, if it stirs your inner child to be able to call on the spirit of Wonder Woman for justice and healing, or justice and truth, then why the hell not?
Yeah, 100%. I feel like it's not even making our modern things magical. I think they are magical already. You know, it's more like, I think it's akin to us going into the woods and finding that herb, you know, that we need in our spell. I think that, you know, we are discovering the magic behind what's in the forest of our consciousness right now. And a lot of that is pop culture imagery. I mean, who doesn't feel that? I'm just thinking about like Star Wars, and you know, I'm like a Joseph Campbell reader. I remember like when they were talking, this is going back to like the 70s, right, when they first came out. But it was such an amazing magical moment where it spoke to a people. Yeah. I
mean, I don't know, girl. I don't think I was even a sperm then, so.
I knew it was I. But you know, I pick up a book once in a while, you know.
What? You know how to read?
Yes.
Goodness.
Yes, I do. Yes, I do.
But yeah, totally. You know,
Yeah.
I think that the, you know, to be able to be inspired by the things that are around you is very much akin to that, you know, going out into the woods and finding that one special herb that will lead you to what you need, or, you know, sitting up all night and waiting for a spirit to come talk to you. I don't necessarily see that there's a great deal of difference.
Mm-hmm.
And ultimately, the measure of that is, does it work? Did you get results? Were they good results? Can you replicate those results?
Right.
You know, if yes to all of those questions, then what's the problem? Because it's unorthodox? Okay.
Right.
So is having sex with other men, at least in our overculture.
Mm-hmm.
So, oh no, the occult police are going to come and get me for not invoking the spirit correctly. Whatever shall I do?
The demons will take care of that.
Demons are fun. They tickle my inside.
Not gonna go there. Not gonna go there.
Oh, come on. Don't be scared now.
Demonic fisting.
Oh, no.
Next topic on Walking the Unnamed Path.
Woohoo! Demons bring the best lube, though.
Ectoplasm.
I mean, whatever you want to call it, honey.
So, was there anything that no one was particularly fond of in the book, or thought could use some improvement?
I mean, you know, there's always room for improvement. I think that, you know, given that this is his first outing as an author, it's tremendous work for that. I would have loved to see more in the way of magic talked about, because the bit on spellcraft, it's like the last chapter of the book. It's, I think, what did I say? It's 17 pages, something like that. It's just extremely 13 pages. Yeah. You know, it's just really short. And while there are a good handful of little spells, they're all like a paragraph. I do like the fact that they are, you know, they are all very well tied to the material that is earlier in the book. Like any good grimoire, they should be essentially incomprehensible to you if you skip to the end. They're not going to be entirely incomprehensible, but they certainly do make reference to earlier exercises and such in the book. So you do have to go back and look at those. I just wish that there was more, because there's a whole lot of talk about ways to improve your psychic abilities and your abilities to move energy and everything else, and not a whole lot in practical ways to put that into effect, if that makes sense.
Maybe that's what he's saving for book 2.
Oh, I'm sure. I mean, I'm quite sure that he's going to have something else come out pretty soon that is going to be a great deal more comprehensive. I'm just saying that, like, I'm impatient and I hate waiting, and so I was hoping that there was gonna be more. You know, I'm a greedy bitch, and I like hearing what cool people do with their magic. So, you know, there's that.
Yeah. What about you, Chris?
No, you know, I felt it was a good balance, because I don't want, like, I feel like I would, you know, okay, so if the book were bigger and had more content, sure, I wouldn't say no to that, right? But I like that it wasn't just a book of spells. I like that it wasn't just like, oh, if you want someone to like you, just visualize pink light around them. You know, I'm glad it wasn't like that. And a whole lot of those recipes. I like that there's a lot of work being done around building your foundation. And yeah, I like that it was a lot of self-work. And I guess I'm just like really into that too. So such a self-help junkie. So I kind of like that was a lot of work around that, and actually like creating your inner temple, as it were. And then of course, you know, what is a witchy book without some like spells? But I like that it wasn't too much of a cookbook, and more of like learning how to cut your carrots properly book, you know?
I love that. I love that.
I dated a cook. To this day, they still judge me whenever they see me cutting shit. So you're all judgy bitches. Listen, I didn't pay all the money.
Honey, I can burn water, so there is a reason that my boyfriend does most of the cooking.
Aww.
He's also really good at it, which is delightful.
There we go. Oh. Utility.
Because you know this bitch likes to eat.
That's right. Keep you happy. How about you, Michael? Were you craving some more somewhere else or something else?
No, I mean, very much like you. Your analogy at the end really just kind of sums up what my takeaway from the book was. I really couldn't put it any better than what you and Chase said. Yes, I wish there had been maybe a little bit more magic, but I do think that it's something that he's saving maybe for his next book. I did love the way that he, basically step-by-step to everything, which definitely I need to get a physical copy of the book so I can go back and do some of these exercises, because, a lot of the, higher brain stuff is still kind of hard for me, even though I'm able to do it, but it's still kind of like pulling teeth. I totally understand how you both are able to, vibe with it, freaking like kids.
I think also one of the things that I did really enjoy about the book in particular is the fact that the way that he put magic in the book is very akin to how we do magic during our apprenticeships, which I appreciate. The fact that when we're doing the apprenticeship, we don't teach magic until the very end. Because, it's like handing a toddler a loaded gun. I would like to teach you how to use the thing before I just give it to you to fire. I think that, to me at least, that is an extremely important part of teaching anybody how to do magic, is teaching people how to do it safely and practically. I don't believe that the world is a huge scary place where everything is out to hurt you. However, it is really easy to do sloppy and imprecise magic that can end up harming you and others because you're not doing it clearly or with a clear focus. So obviously, anyone who's ever seen me say anything on Facebook ever knows that I am very much not a believer in the idea of the threefold rule or whatever the fuck you want to call it. I know, I have strong feelings. But, it's important for people to know how to do good and effective magic. If you're going to do it well. Sloppy magic is just, it's sloppy and it's not good for anybody. And you're also going to have a really shitty time trying to replicate results if you are a sloppy magician and you don't really know how you made it happen in the first place.
Agreed.
And those are my feelings.
So I think our basic takeaway is everyone should go get this book, huh?
Oh, yes, girl. It's good. I mean, even for me who's been doing this for, God, ever and a day, it feels like sometimes. I mean, I definitely, can't necessarily say that I learned anything new from it, but it's definitely a good refresher for when if you've been doing it a long time and maybe you haven't done as much in the way of psychic development. It is really nice to be able to be like, oh, that's how that works. Oh, okay. And to, have some influence in that, or to have, a basic refresher in that. There is definitely some of it that's not particularly helpful for me, mainly because for me it's sort of a case of, how many hammers do I actually need? If I already have a similar tool in my toolbox, I don't need another one unless it's a very specialized type of hammer. But how many claw hammers does one person need? If I already have a good one that works really well for me, I'm not going to just replace it because someone else has a shinier one. It's still a claw hammer.
I'm impressed you know what a claw hammer is.
Girl, I worked as a remodeler.
Oh, just a little shade from my sister.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I agree. I think this book will speak to a lot of different people in different ways. I actually like that. Matt actually kind of starts off the book in this way, but he kind of like calls out the community a little bit, right? And speaks about how a lot of folks in the witchy world kind of aren't great at psychic things, and then we kind of just brush it under the rug, and we just kind of keep the trappings, right? And you just burn the burning, and you just like do the dancing or whatever, but then you might not actually have a psychic connection to it. Mm-hmm. And then he also speaks about the psychics who, for various reasons, like kind of like separated themselves from the witchy woo-woo, right? Because they're trying to be legitimate in the general community and kind of approach it from this view of like, oh, no, I just have this natural ability that's completely like science-based or something, you know? I don't know. I think for me, this book is definitely speaking to the armchair occultist that it like needs to get out of, get off his ass and do stuff. It's also speaking to like the minimalist in me, that really likes that you don't need to buy a whole bunch of shit to do magic, and really you can, and there's no harm in it except for maybe like your bank account. It's nice to have pretty things, and I love them too. But a pretty thing that's not being used is just a pretty thing, right? Mm-hmm. So I think that this will really, I don't know, there's the potential for it really making you really in tune and ready for when or if that pretty thing comes into your life, like really working it and having that level of connection with it besides it just being a pretty thing. Yeah, so like I said, I'm really excited about working through these aspects. I also like that it's a bit of a paradigm shift because like often like 101 books start with, oh, these are the tools that you need, and then it's kind of revealed later. It's like, oh, but you don't need any of this, right? Because you are a strong witch and you are attuned to these energies. But instead of starting from all these trappings, you can actually start with nothing, right? And then when these trappings come along, then you could further appreciate them. Or they don't come at all, which is completely fine too.
One thing that I do, besides this being an awesome book, I really appreciate. I really loved how Matt was selling his book. I think I sent y'all that video where he's like laying in bed and like talking
so
to
cute.
You seductively. I was like, oh my, ooh, goodness.
Yeah. I did appreciate that. I mean, one, it was entertaining, but two, I think that self-promotion is important, and I think it's something that we often diminish, but it actually shows a lot of, I don't know. I think it shows a little bit of wisdom and grounding, to be honest. Mm. Yeah. So good on you, Matt. Keep sending videos of you with your shirt off, talking about your book.
Hey, our email address is Walking the Unnamed Path @gmail.com.
Yeah.
Y'all thirsty.
Girl,
I'm not gonna lie. Yeah.
I'm a very huggy person.
I was gonna say we all don't have live-in boyfriends.
Mm-hmm.
Well, that's true. I suppose that's true.
Must
what
be
I
nice.
will say, it is fucking amazing, and I have definitely earned it. So,
yes,
girl, I have put in the hours. I have done the time. It is so fucking amazing to have a boyfriend, even just one boyfriend, who like not only encourages you to be your fabulous kinky self, but like is kinky with you, like celebrates that kinkiness. It's so great, so wonderful. Like I am happy as I could possibly be right now. Other than the fact that I don't get to spend a lot of time with the other one in Vancouver, because that makes me sad. But what I was gonna say, where I was so rudely interrupted, the few times here and there that I have gotten to have a conversation with Matt, usually over Facebook, because, face it, that's pretty much the only place I ever go nowadays. I often will interact with him on one of his Facebook pages because he'll post an article, and I, as is my wont to do, will read the article and then make a comment on the Facebook post saying, this is a really good article, and I disagree with you in this, and this way. However, it's not necessarily because you've made a bad point, but just because I think it's more nuanced than this, or something to those effects. I have always found that Matt is very amenable to critique, and is always very humble when people don't approach him like a lunatic. That being said, when he has had people who have approached him like a lunatic, he does tend to put the kibosh on that pretty quick, which is also kind of nice. Also, he just seems, from all the interactions that I've had with him, he does actually seem like a genuinely nice person, which is all too infrequent a commodity in the pagan community. So, let's all buy his book, people, but maybe don't be crazy and send him crazy messages, because it's not nice.
Yeah.
Apparently, people have been being more than playfully thirsty and have sent him some very inappropriate things.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. So, hey guys, let's be grown-ups and behave like grown-ups are supposed to behave, not like crazy children.
Getting a lot of that right now.
I'm telling you what. If people would just let me rule the world, we would not have these problems.
There'd also be a lot less people.
I mean, it's like a win-win to me.
Pretty sure Trump had a similar conversation.
Oh, yeah, but Trump only wants there to be other rich people. I just want there to be smart people.
Just burn it all down.
I mean, look, I hear that millionaires make great mulch. That's all I'm saying.
Mm-hmm.
I hear that billionaires are high in nitrogen. I'm just saying. I'm just saying.
Another sad, since we're winding down, one sad thing that I'm just no, when we had to cancel Stone and Stang.
Of course, yeah, I know. I was very disappointed, but obviously, it was the right decision. Yeah, it was the right decision. But remember how I was saying, the whole quarantine thing hit me hard. That also added, weight to that, because we'd been working on that for so long, and it was going to be so good. Mm-hmm.
Well, the next one will just have to be even better.
Yeah. I'm just fingers crossed that Between the Worlds doesn't get canceled.
Yeah, I'm wondering. I don't know.
I know they extended the early registration deadline to June or July, but yeah, I'm just please.
Well, as much as it would suck, I think it's probably better for it to be canceled than for a bunch of people to die.
Agreed.
Yeah, agreed.
For all my joking about, cleansing the world of capitalists, it would suck if a lot of people who don't deserve it died.
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Just remember, folks, it's not vindictive if they deserved it. You can thank our brother Ken for that one.
True.
Isn't that such a delightfully Scorpio thing to say?
Mm.
So, did you guys have any closing thoughts before we exeunt?
No, I think other than it's a great book, definitely buy it. We're giving you our opinions, but you should definitely make your own opinion on it. So go buy it and let us know what you think.
Support your local small business retailers if you are at all possible or able to. A lot of stores are having to close their physical locations right now because of quarantining. So check out online stores. A lot of your local pagan stores do have some kind of online presence and can ship things out. So always check up on and see if they do. You know, before you jump onto Amazon and order that book through Amazon, see if you can support your local pagan businesses, because they need the money more than Amazon. They need the money more than Jeff Bezos does. So yes, please do the please do the thing. I literally have purchased 3 copies of this book, so I get it. I totally feel it. But yeah, since we are coming up on the close of our show, and we would like to thank everyone who is listening right now, we hope you'll continue to walk this path. Please leave a rating or and let us know how you liked this episode or our show in general. If you'd like to get in touch with us, you can email us at walkingtheunnamedpath@gmail.com. You can hit us up on Twitter at walking_the UP. And, of course, on Facebook at facebook.com/walkingtheunnamedpath. Blessings, and see you all next time. Say bye, guys.
Bye, guys.